My name is Lauren Lee-Tran. I am a third-year business student studying HR with the Orfalea College Business Ambassadors, and I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Great. It's nice to meet you, Lauren. And I'm glad to hear you're studying HR because, as you're probably well aware, when I went to school there, I at the time it was called industrial relations.
Oh, nice. I did not know that. That's just awesome.
Yeah.
I'd love to, I was super excited to talk to you today, given you and your background and my interest in the career field as well. I'd love to hear just a brief introduction of your career and your time since Cal Poly.
Okay, so first of all, I graduated not too far from high school, not too far from San Luis Obispo. I went to Lompoc High School. Came to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo as a freshman. My big thing is I went to school there in the School of Business. What interested me in personnel, or again, industrial relations at the time, was I was taking a couple of accounting classes and finance classes, and I wasn't quite sure that that was my cup of tea. What really led me towards the personnel route was I had a summer job working at a place called Columbia Records. I worked at the facility that produced all the records, all the, at the time they were cassette tapes, and then they were the 8-track tapes. They made all that stuff and sent them out. And when I was working there, I met an individual that was working in HR. And I was intrigued by what they were doing, and that's what kind of pushed me down that road. What I really like about Cal Poly and the business program is I can honestly say that Cal Poly helped me get a job. I wound up taking a job as a recruiter in the aerospace business. But I think what I want to do is pat Cal Poly on the back because it really opened the doors for me to be able to do what I wanted to do. And what I'm most proud of is I worked in human resources for 40 years, right out of college to the day I retired.
Going into HR field in the beginning of your career, what steps do you think were instrumental in building a foundation to eventually, I think you said you were a director at later on as well. Like what were the fundamental steps that, whether in college, at Cal Poly, or first years post-grad, that were really influential in your foundation?
Some of the things that made me successful in the business arena was whenever a job popped up that someone didn't want to do, I would do it. I was just in this mode that I want to learn as much as I can learn and grow. I would take, and a good example is one assignment I remember in particular was my boss wanted to send me to Palmdale. I don't know if you know where Palmdale is, but that's out in the desert. And they wanted me to go out there and work and staff the B2 program, but no one wanted to live out there. And I told my boss, I'll go. And I took that assignment, did really well at it, and I was moved into management. Then I started getting my own department. My department grew and I got 2 or 3 more departments. And eventually, again, I became a human resources manager. Did that for a number of years, and I rotated assignments. And not only did I rotate assignments, I had 5 corporate moves in my career. And the main thing that I want to get across is I was mobile. I was willing to take assignments that people didn't want to take. And again, for me, it gave me an opportunity to learn just different things, being in different environments, etc. And then probably the greatest thing during that time period is I had a boss, his name was Dan. I remember when he first hired me, when he first promoted me into management, I hadn't been in a job in 3 days and I made a real bad mistake at work and I couldn't sleep at night. I kept thinking about it. I go, I have to go tell him. I can't let him down. I gotta tell him. So I go to his office the next day and I told him what I had done at work and that I had made a mistake. And he looked at me real funny and I'm like, why has he got this funny look on his face? And he says, so what are you gonna do about it? And I looked at him real funny. He goes, The mistake's already made. He goes, you've already admitted to the mistake. I'm not concerned about the mistake. What are you going to do about it? And what did you learn? And then it gave me a different mindset of, oh, you can make mistakes in the job. And it just gave me more energy to just go do more and do as much as I can. And one thing that I learned is I heard another individual say on one of your chats is they learn from their mistakes. And I can honestly say that I learn from my mistakes. And that's how you get better. But you got to have someone also that's willing to allow you to grow and to make those mistakes. I'm just saying, nobody's perfect and everyone's going to make mistakes in a job, but do you learn something from it? And I think that's really important.
Mistakes and learning from the low moments. You know, right now it's definitely an unprecedented time and we're trying to cope with different things. And I was curious as to, is there any time where you felt like there was a low moment in your career? And, you know, we talked about the lessons that come from it. What's the best lesson that you learned from that experience?
Hopefully this doesn't sound too corny. My second year in my job, it just so happened that the company that I worked for hired an individual that I went to high school with and that also went to Cal Poly. They were 1 year behind me in school, and 2 years later, I'm working with this individual and I noticed this individual had already passed me in the career ladder. And I got home one night and I got to thinking, I'm like, how did Sam get promoted so fast? And I stepped back, and what I realized that when I was in the working, that I was working so hard, working for a promotion instead of just working hard to enjoy the work. And it's sort of that saying, you got to stop and smell the roses, so to speak. I had to realize that the work wasn't work just to get promoted. It was to do some good work and enjoy what I was doing. Because what I noticed was Sam was enjoying his work. I was doing the work to do it just to do it good without really enjoying and savoring the moment. Take things in stride, get things done, but enjoy what I was doing as well. And I started enjoying my work a lot more as well.
Yeah, it sounds like when you focus too much on the money or other things and you're not focusing on the work at hand, it can almost, you're not doing the work well then. And you really got to focus on what's important to do well in HR, but it sounds like in any role.
Yes.
Well, I'd love to, my last question for you, I'd love to hear is, you know, looking back now, you know, when you are graduating from Cal Poly, is there any advice that you would give to yourself and someone like me who is just about to graduate from Cal Poly as well?
So for me, again, one of the things I mentioned earlier, I always tried to do things fast. My thing was when I was at school there, I didn't want to spend another dime by having to go to school an extra quarter. Mm-hmm. So I took 17, 18 units every quarter to make sure that I got out in exactly 12 quarters. If I had to do it all over again, and like I said, I learned that, hey, I didn't have to rush through it. While I was in school there, I was so busy trying to make sure I got the units out the way instead of really, really focusing in, because I know I could have been a stronger and better student in accounting and finance had I taken the time to focus a little more on that instead of just let me take these classes and get them out the way.